Hi students, today we will study about Circulatory System Part 2. Previously we studied about Circulatory System Part 1. See, here is a circulation in your body. What is circulation? If you remember, circulation is the movement of body fluid inside the body. So circulation contains a special body fluid or blood and a pumping organ or heart for moving it. So it's all about circulatory system. In this part 2, we will study about blood vessels, blood pressure, pulse, types of blood circulation, portal system, lymph and lymphatic organs. So first of all, blood vessels. What are blood vessels? See, the study of blood vessels is called angiology. So blood vessels are the part of the circulatory system that transports blood throughout the body. So there are three types of blood vessels in our body, and these are arteries, capillaries and veins. So first of all, we will study about arteries. In short, the main function of artery is to carry the blood away from the heart. So when the artery carries blood away from the heart, it means the blood is purified or oxygenated. So arteries carrying oxygenated blood from heart to various parts of the body. These are the characteristics of arteries. Next, blood vessels are grouped as aorta, which branches to form arteries. Actually, arteries are tough on the outside and smooth on the inside. And as the arteries move away from the heart, they divide into smaller vessels. The largest arteries are about as thick as our thumb. So, blood vessels are grouped as aorta, which branches to form arteries. So, blood vessels come in aorta and aorta branches in arteries. So, arteries divides into thinner branches called arterioles inside the organ. As I have said, that arteries move away from the heart, they divide into smaller vessels. So, the thinner arteries are called arterioles. When arteries further divide, they are divided into arterioles. So, arterioles are thinner arteries. Arterioles continue to branch into smaller and smaller vessels, which once they have decreased in size below 10 mu micron in a diameter are known as capillaries. So, arteries further divide into smaller vessels called meta-arterioles, which divide into capillaries. What are meta-arterioles? Actually, meta-arteriole is a short vessel that links arteriole and venules. And meta-arterioles further divide into capillaries. At the beginning of capillary, the arterioles possess circular muscle called precapillary sphincter, which regulates flow of blood into the capillaries, which is called vasomotion. Actually, precapillary sphincter is a function of meta-arteriole. And what are meta-arterioles? See, all the arteries are divided into three layers. Later we will study about the three layers of arteries. But shortly you have to understand that arteries divided into three layers, and these are tunica media, tunica interna and an elastic lamina. So in the case of meta-arterioles, instead of continuous tunica media, they have individual muscle cells placed a short distance apart, each forming a precapillary sphincter that encircles the entrance to one capillary. So constriction of these sphincters reduces or shuts off blood flow through their respective capillaries and diverts blood to tissue or organs elsewhere. So precapillary sphincter regulates flow of blood into the capillaries, which is called vasomotion. Next, muscle-less end of meta-arteriole is called thoroughfare channel or preferential channel. See, distal portion of a meta-arteriole has no smooth muscle fibers and is called thoroughfare channel or preferential channel. This channel serves as a low resistant channel that increases blood flow. The largest artery is dorsal or abdominal aorta in systemic aorta. Actually, aorta is the root systemic artery. It receives blood directly from the left ventricle of the heart by the way of the aortic wall. Elastic or conducting arteries receives blood from heart and do not provide it to any organ rather. See, elastic artery or conducting artery is an artery with a large number of collagen and elastin filaments in the tunica media, which gives it the ability to stretch in response to each pulse. So, elastic arteries include the largest arteries in the body, those closest to the heart. They give rise to medium-sized vessels known as distributing arteries or muscular arteries. So, elastic arteries do not provide blood to any other organ rather. Next, they provide blood to other arteries and are pressure reservoirs of blood. See, arterial system is a higher pressure portion of the circulatory system. Arterial pressure varies between the peak pressure during heart contraction called the systolic pressure and the minimum or diastolic pressure between contractions when the heart expands and refills. Muscular arteries show vasoconstriction and vasodilation and provide blood to the organs. So, muscular arteries constrict when it requires constriction and dilates when it requires dilation. That's why muscular arteries show vasoconstriction, vasodilation and provide blood to the organs. Now see the diagram of arteries. See, this is arteriole, this is meta-arteriole. These are thoroughfare channels or preferential channels of meta-arterioles. These are precapillary sphincter, which regulates the flow of blood. These are venous capillaries. These are arterial capillaries. Arteriole further branches into arterial capillaries. The red blood showing the oxygenated blood, which is present in the arteries. And the blue blood is showing deoxygenated blood or impurified blood. This is the diagram of arteries. See, these are the blood vessels. These are artery. Further branching of artery is converted into arteriole, and the branching of arteriole is divided into capillary. So arteries are the main transporters of oxygenated blood. See, arterioles diameters adjusted to regulate blood flow, and capillaries diffusion occurs across this wall. This is basement membrane. This is smooth muscle. This is basement membrane. This is endothelium of an artery. Artery is further divided into arterioles. Diameter of arteriole is adjusted to regulate blood flow, and arterioles is further divided into capillaries. So diffusion occurs through thin walls. Next come anastomosis. What is anastomosis? If more than one arteries are supplying to one organ, then branches of these arteries unite to form a network called anastomosis. So an anastomosis in a network of streams is the reconnection of two streams that previously branched out, such as blood vessels. It refers to connection between blood vessels. Now, next is end arteries. What are end arteries? See, in organs like heart, branches of different arteries do not unite, rather than they terminate, due to which the alternate pathways are not available. In such cases, blocking of any artery leads to necrosis of related part of organ. To develop alternate pathway in such conditions is called bypass surgery. So, arteries which do not anastomose or connect with their neighbors are called end arteries. There is no collateral circulation present beside the end arteries. In the event that these vessels become blocked or there is blood clotting, the tissue will be deprived of oxygen and an infarct develops. What is infarct? Infarct, I am spelling it INFARCT. Infarct is an area of tissue death due to a local lack of oxygen. These are end arteries. Next comes capillaries. These are the capillaries. See, in the red color, these are capillaries. So, these are the smallest blood vessels discovered by scientists named Marcello Malpighi. Diameter of capillary is about 8 micron. And these are also called as exchange vessel because they are the site of exchange of material between blood and tissue because of least barrier in them. See, capillaries are the smallest of our body's blood vessels and are parts of the microcirculation. They are only 1 cell thick. These microvessels or capillaries are measuring 5 to 10 μmicron in diameter or 8 μmicron. Capillaries connect arterioles and venules and enable the exchange of water, oxygen, carbon dioxide and many other nutrients and waste chemical substances between blood and surrounding tissues. These capillaries are supplied with blood by arterioles and drained by venules. Next, capillaries can be grouped into two categories, and these are arteriolar capillary and venular capillary. These are arteriolar capillaries and these are venular capillary or venule. See, capillaries are the direct vascular connection between an arteriole and venule. By passing capillary supply, the connection occurs in certain exposed parts like fingertips, nose, pinna, eyelid, lips, tongue, etc. It is meant for controlling blood supply and temperature of the exposed parts. Arterial capillary, which supplies nutrition, respiratory gases like carbon dioxide, etc. to the body cells, and venular capillaries, which collect the metabolic waste from the body cells. These are the capillary that connect arteriole and venule. Next comes veins. See here the picture of veins. These are right subclavian vein, left subclavian vein, superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, left external iliac vein and right femoral vein and right external iliac vein. What are veins? Veins carry deoxygenated blood from tissues to the heart. See, vein is a blood vessel that carries blood from an organ towards the heart. Vein generally contains deoxygenated blood or impurified blood. Flow of blood is smooth without jerks and under little pressure in the vein. Now, venules. Venules are the smallest branch unite to form veins, which in turn unite to form vena cava. See, a vein can range in size from 1 mm to 1.15 cm in a diameter. The smallest vein in the body are called venules. They receive blood from the arteries by the way of the arterioles and capillaries. The venules branch into larger veins which eventually carry the blood to the largest vein in the body, the vena cava. This is vena cava. The blood is then transported from the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava to the right atrium of the heart. Next is the largest vein is the inferior vena cava or postcaval. Next, varicose veins. Varicose veins, these are stout, blood-filled, painful veins, especially of the limbs due to defective wash pocket valves. See, varicose veins are the veins that have become enlarged and tortuous. The term commonly refers to the veins on the legs, although these veins can occur elsewhere. Veins have leaflet valves to prevent blood from flowing backwards. Leg muscles pump the veins to return blood to the heart against the effects of gravity. When veins become varicose, the leaflets of the valve no longer meet properly and the valves do not work. This allows blood to flow backwards and they enlarge even more. Varicose veins are most common in the superficial veins of the legs, which are subject to high pressure when standing or walking. Varicose veins are often painful, especially when standing or walking. See here the varicose veins. This is a normal vein. Here is a valve. This is normal flow of the blood. Valve is open. These are the limb veins. But varicose veins, here see, these are deformed valve and this is thin wall of vein. This is dilated vein and here is the abnormal flow of the blood. This is skin is bulging out. This is called varicose vein. Next comes histology of arteries and veins. See, blood vessels are made up of 3 layers. Means structurally the wall of vein has the same 3 part as in an artery, that is First one is tunica externa, second is tunica media, and third is tunica interna. First of all, tunica externa. Tunica externa is the outer coat with loose connective tissue, abundant white and fewer yellow fibers, and smooth longitudinal muscle fibers. It is well developed, but external elastic lamina is not much differentiated. Next comes tunica media. It is a comparatively thinner in vein with a few smooth circular muscles. Next is tunica interna or tunica intima. Tunica interna is similar to that of an artery but with fewer folds, less developed internal elastic membrane and less elongated endothelial cells. Semilunar walls are made of folds of endothelium with some enclosed connective tissue. So these are the three layers of blood vessels or arteries or veins. These three layers are same in arteries and in veins. Here are the diagram of artery and vein. See, this is the structure of an artery and this is the structure of a vein. This is endothelium, this is basement membrane, elastic layer, smooth muscle, elastic layer and connective tissue. In case of vein, these are valve. No valve is present in artery, but valves are present in vein that prevent the backward flow of blood. These are endothelium, this is basement membrane, this is smooth muscle, this is connective tissue. Next is a diagram of layers of blood vessels. See, both arteries and veins possess same type of layers. These are tunica intima of artery and this is tunica intima of vein. This is elastin in both artery and vein. This is tunica media in artery and tunica media in vein. This is tunica externa and this is serosa, which is present only in artery. Next, here is the structure and blood flow through a vein. See, this is artery, this capillary wall and this is vein. So blood is flow from artery to the vein. Here is the flowing of blood through a vein. See, red blood is showing oxygenated blood of artery and blue blood is showing deoxygenated blood of vein. Next is capillary structure and relationships of capillaries to arteries and veins. This is the capillary structure and the relationships of capillaries to arteries and veins. This is artery, this is vein. These are precapillary sphincters which control the flow of blood. These are arterioles, these are venule, and these are the capillaries. Capillaries join arteriole to venule. Here is a section of this capillary. You can see fluid is squeezed out of capillary by blood pressure through basement membrane. Fluid is re-entering capillary by osmotic attraction through basement membrane. So capillaries enable the exchange of water, oxygen, carbon dioxide and many other nutrients and waste chemical substances between blood and surrounding tissues. So this is the structure of capillaries. Now here are the differences between arteries and veins. First of all, we take arteries. As we all know that arteries carry oxygenated blood or purified blood away from the heart except pulmonary artery. Arteries carry blood from heart to the organs of the body. Next, these are the mostly deeply situated in the body. Arteries are thick-walled, highly muscular except arteries of cranium and vertebral column. Arteries possess narrow lumen and walls are almost absent in arteries, and the blood of arteries is red in color because arteries possess purified blood. These show spurty movement of blood giving pulse. Arteries empty up at the time of death. Next, if arterial wall is injured, the blood comes out like a fountain in a large area all around the artery because of high pressure of blood in the artery. Next comes veins. Veins carry deoxygenated blood towards the heart except pulmonary veins. Veins are superficial and deep in location. Veins are thin-walled. These possess wide lumen. Valves are present in veins which provide unidirectional flow of blood. The color of blood in veins is bluish because veins contain deoxygenated blood. These show sluggish movement of blood. Blood in veins move under very low pressure. Veins get filled up at the time of death, and if venous wall is injured, blood comes out, collects in a pool in a small area around vein. These are the major differences between arteries and veins. Next comes blood pressure. You all are very much familiar from the term blood pressure or BP. See, what is blood pressure? The pressure exerted by the blood on the wall of the blood vessels in which it is present is called blood pressure. It is usually measured in brachial artery by an instrument called sphygmomanometer, invented by Riva Rocky. See, BP or blood pressure is a pressure exerted by circulating blood upon the walls of blood vessels and is one of the principal vital signs. When used without further specification, blood pressure usually refers to the arterial pressure of the systemic circulation. During each heartbeat, blood pressure varies between a maximum systolic and minimum diastolic pressure. The mean of the BP due to pumping by the heart and resistance to flow in blood vessels decreases as the circulating blood moves away from the heart through arteries. Blood pressure drops most rapidly along the small arteries and arterioles and continues to decrease as the blood moves through the capillaries and back to the heart through veins. So blood pressure is measured at a person's upper arm. It is measured on the inside of an elbow at the brachial artery. Brachial artery is the upper arm's major blood vessel that carries blood away from the heart. So, a person's BP or blood pressure is usually expressed in terms of the systolic pressure over diastolic pressure. For example, our blood pressure of a normal human being is 140/90. This is the standard value of a blood pressure of a normal human being. Next is arterial blood pressure is of two types. Arterial blood pressure means pressure of blood which is coming from heart to the artery. So, arterial blood pressure is of two types, systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure. See, first of all, systolic blood pressure. It is the pressure exerted by the blood on the walls of the blood vessels due to systole of ventricles and is equal to 120 mm mercury. So, systolic blood pressure measures the amount of pressure that blood exerts on vessels while the heart is beating. Next is diastolic blood pressure. It is the pressure exerted on walls of blood vessels when the ventricles are relaxed. Hence, blood pressure drops down to 80 mm mercury. Thus, blood pressure in normal person is systolic/diastolic pressure, that is 120/80 mm mercury. So, diastolic blood pressure, or you can also say bottom number blood pressure, measures the pressure in your vessels between heartbeats. If systolic and diastolic pressure are too high, it might that you have been suffering from hypertension. Next is pulse pressure. The difference between systolic and diastolic pressure is called pulse pressure, and its normal value is 120 minus 80 mm, that is 40 mm mercury. Next is mean arterial pressure. What is mean arterial pressure? It is the average pressure of systolic and diastolic pressures. This value varies at different levels of circulation, being maximum in the aorta because aorta is the largest vessel, and minimum in the vena cava under normal conditions. Next is pulse. Here is the pulse. You often have seen when doctor examines your pulse by putting his hand on your wrist. So this is a measurement of pulse. You can see here the flow of blood from the radial artery of the hand. See what a pulse. It is a pressure wave of distension and recoiling felt in the radial artery due to contraction of left ventricle, which force about 70 to 90 ml of blood in each cardiac cycle to aorta. This pressure wave of contraction travels down to the wall to the arteries and is called pulse. the normal pulse rate in a normal adult person is 72 per minute. See, the rate of pulse felt in arteries due to pumping activity of left ventricle, and it is called pulse or arterial pulse. It is equal to heartbeat and is felt externally in the radial artery near the wrist, but can be known from other superficial arteries like the ones present in neck, temples, ham and ankles. Pulse rate is influenced by fear, emotions, anger, temperature, exercise, disease, activity, age, sex, etc. It is about, as I have written, 72 per minute in a man and 80 per minute in women. Next, changes in blood pressure velocity. See, these are the artery. Artery further branches into arterioles. Arterioles further branches into capillaries, and these are venules and vein. Capillaries are connection between arterioles and venules. You can see here, these are the large arteries, small arteries, arterioles, capillaries, and this is venules and veins. This velocity of blood pressure is centimeter per second. And this blood pressure in millimeter mercury. And this total area, that is per centimeter square. This total area is square of centimeter. Large arteries have no blood pressure because there is no pressure in the large arteries. Small arteries also have no pressure. In arterioles, there is a pressure in the blood. In venules, there is a high pressure in the blood. So these are the changes in blood pressure velocity. These are the area of arteries, capillaries and veins of the circulatory system. Arteries has big area. Capillaries have small area comparative to arteries, and veins have small area comparative to arteries. So this is the area of arteries, capillaries and veins of a circulatory system. Next comes factors affecting blood pressure. First of all, age. With the advancing age, blood pressure increases after the age of 60 years. It is calculated as 100 plus age of the person. Next, cardiac output. Blood pressure increases with the increase in cardiac output, or blood comes from heart. Next is elasticity of blood vessels. Elasticity of blood vessels, that is blood pressure, is inversely related to the elasticity of blood vessels. Next, total peripheral resistance. Constriction of the blood vessels increase blood pressure, whereas dilation of the blood vessels decreases blood pressure. So these are the factors affecting blood pressure.